Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakha HaKodash. I want to give double honors to our elder apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone Root Well, as well as peace and blessings, health and wellness to the outstayed the elect. Alright? I was a high spirit wind lawyer. And today I want to go into a topic entitled, it just goes into self-development. I don't have a particular title. Most of my in-transit videos are not entitled anyway, I'm en route when I do it. I just go live. But I want to go into a topic, all right, it goes into development. A brother sent me a video last night, and actually it's the second brother that sent me the video, all right, and it's a fire video, man. It's a Carl Jung's video, right, which I believe he's an Israelite, because he's spiritual as hell, man. He's a psychologist, and he basically goes into shadow work, goes into the deeper psychology of humans. All right, he has a lot of studies, and a lot of psychology is built around his works. Today's psychology was built around his work, right? The psychology is really the study of the spirit, the study of the soul. All right, your psyche is really like your spirit, your soul, your mind. Okay, but he has something called for females the animus, and for males the anima. Okay, and basically when it comes to relationships, what we're learning is how women look at you, and what you realize is the female doesn't look at you through the lenses of reality. She's looking at you through an expectation that she's placing on you. She's looking at you through an archetype or a fantasy that she wants you to fit in. The same thing with a man, all right? The man has something called the anima, A-N-I-M-A, which is a female archetype that he projects on women, all right? So it reminds me of a movie called The Life of Pi, an Indian movie, an Elamite movie, right? Where the little boy was stuck on a boat with an actual tiger, right? But before he had the accident where he was stuck on a boat with the tiger, all right, his dad owned the zoo. So the tiger was actually in his dad's estate, so to speak, inside of a cage. But when he was a little boy, he was about to pet the little tiger because he thought the tiger was like a puppy. He thought the same way the puppy was, so the tiger was. All right, right before he stuck his hand out to pet the tiger, his dad walked in. Then his dad didn't tell him with words solely. He showed him by grabbing a little goat, and he put the goat in a cage with the tiger, and he forced his son to watch. And he said, he forced his son to watch the tiger devour the goat. He forced his son to watch the little tiger devour the goat, just to show him this lesson right here. He told him, he said, this tiger is not your friend. What you think you see in that tiger is your own emotions being projected on that tiger, roughly paraphrasing. What you think you see in this tiger is really your own emotions that you're projecting back on that tiger, all right? Because the father knew that the little boy had a fantasy of reality inside of his mind that he was projecting on that tiger, because he thought subconsciously that the tiger was like his little best friend. But that lesson that he learned as a little boy, it saved him when he became older. He became older, and he was stuck on that boat with that same tiger that got older. because he knew from his father's lesson with that tiger and seeing him being devoured by that goat, that when he was stuck, when we fast forward to the future, when he was stuck on the boat with the tiger, all right, he knew not to get close to that tiger. He knew to keep his distance from that tiger. He knew to sleep with one eye open with that tiger, because he knew that tiger was subject to his primitive instincts. Okay, but that lesson that made him resent his father as a little boy, it saved his life as an older young man. All right, but the point in that lesson was that when you're innocent, you're inexperienced, all right, you're green or naive, which we all were at some point of our life, you project things on people, and you see something, you make them be something that they not actually are in real life. And you will cause your own effect, you'll cause your own suffering, because you'll project something on them that's not consistent with who they are. So when it comes to a woman, and we know how Eve is, we know how American women are, and truth be told, they're just females, all right, that honestly are free to go off their instincts. A modern woman is really just a female that's free to go off her instincts, man. All right, and we'll talk that the dynamic between a man and a woman was just like high school. You're both in love, all right, but the reality is she's in your world dealing with you based off of your boundaries. So I'm saying all that to build a point. The point is, if you have a bad experience with a woman, what was it about your inner world that allowed her to do that to you? Or what was it about your judgment that allowed her to come into your life? So I say that to say, we are the gatekeepers to our life. We control who has access to us. So women who've done you wrong, you naturally resent them, but you got to ask yourself, what was it about you that allowed her to come into your life? You can only be the sucker for love so many times. You can only be the naive little boy that projects his innocence on other people so many times. What was it about you and your guidelines and your standards that allow such a low value person to come into your life? And what you learn about this world is that the world is the jungle. The world is the world, but it is your discretion that helps you navigate through this world. What was it about you that allowed a woman to get away with certain things? You could resent her, or you could resent your own vetting system. You could, check your own vetting system, man. All right. What was it within you that let her just do what she wanted to do, or what was it about you that allowed her to come into your life? I think about this example of a club owner, right? If you are a club owner, and someone comes into your establishment and shoots up the establishment, I can only imagine the club owner the first thing he would do is resent his security guards. He'll fire his security guards. All right, he probably would resent the security guards more than the person who shot up the club, because the question is, how did you let this person inside my establishment, all right, without checking them for weapons? All right, you didn't see the signs that he was about to do this. You didn't, you see what I'm saying? He got through the security system. So the first thing you'll do is check your security system. So with us, yeah, it's one thing to acknowledge Eve and modern women, but it gets to a point in our evolving, in our evolution as men, and our refinement as men, is to, hey, check our vetting system, man. You know, and not only check our vetting system, but become men who operate through boundaries and guidelines. All right, and I'm just making an honest assessment, and this ultimately applies to me. You know, and I do these videos for the edification of our people, man, or the edification of the body. When you reflect on things, and as men, we reflect on things, man. But it's not even just women, just the world. It's one thing to resent people for what they've done, but really, you got to ask yourself too, what was it about you that allowed certain things to happen? Whether it's in the world, people you deal with, and you learn that as men, well, the thing that makes you a man is not your feelings, it's not your emotions, or it's not your mood. It's not whether you're a nice person. The thing that makes you you is your guidelines, your boundaries, your you know. It's just people have to orient themselves through your boundaries, man, your guidelines. And as men, we have to learn each other's boundaries as friends, as brothers. You know, even if a brother is my best friend, you know, we use that term in the world, best friend. But even if a brother is a close friend, I have to respect his boundaries. You know, sometimes you can't joke with every brother like that. You can't, you know what I mean? If this man is a serious man, he's a brother that's solemn, serious, I have to respect that shit. I can't make him be something he's not. I can't make him be this bubbly brother, this happy brother because I'm happy. And I'm laughing because I'm happy around the brothers. His happiness might manifest differently. Like, I'm just basking in the moment. He's cool. You know? I remember, you know, you'll watch, you get around YNs. You might see them on the job, they'll joke with each other. They'll call each other bitch. You know what I'm saying? Shut up, bitch. But you don't joke like that. So, like, no, you feel that's a boundary. Like, nah, bro, I don't do that. I don't do that word. You know? Well, you just give it an example. You know, I know they do that in Louisiana, but Chicago, I've heard that too. Or just a YN in general. You know, but the point is, we have to learn to be subject to our boundaries, subject to our principles, subject to our guidelines, which make up our framework. And we're learning that the world orients themselves through our framework when they come into contact with us. The world, a woman, a female, she's orienting herself through your boundaries. All right, you know, and that's what we're learning. We're learning to put our boundaries and our guidelines, all right, over our emotions, over the feeling of love, over lust. You know, once you get bit by a snake, you don't really, you learn to stop resenting the snake and learn how to see signs that something is a snake. You know, but some of us, a lot of us have to go through the jungle of life to understand the jungle. All right, and that's what reframes your perception of reality itself. Is your experience and your contact of being in the jungle, and your experience, and you come into contact with things in the jungle. But when you come out the jungle, you're ultimately a better man with a more realistic view of life. You know, you're ultimately a better man with a more realistic view of life. It is not so you can sit here and what's the word? Mope about what has happened to you through certain people, what certain people has done to you, but to become a stronger man and be more principled right? And let your judgment rule over your feelings. And that's what constitutes you being a man, is that your judgment and your rules that you're subject to has precedence over your feelings, your emotions, or even lust. And sometimes we slip, but slipping doesn't mean you failed. You just slip and you get back on track. Because now you have to train yourself to go against your default program, which is being emotional. Right? That's your default program for a lot of us. Now you have to train yourself to go off these rules. They help you deal with female nature. They help you deal with the world. All right? They help you understand that it's not about being liked. It's about being respected. And not in a asshole, just super asshole type way, but just in a your peace of mind type of way. All right? And that's okay. Yahweh Shai was the perfect example of just being real. You know? It was the perfect example of being mission oriented and just not being a nice guy, you know? Because like I said, you are not your, if you are a man, right? You are not your emotions. You are not who, you know, your feelings. You are your principles. And that's your skeleton that gives you your framework as to who you are as a person. So it's being coming out of Isaiah 3:16, the matriarch, all right? Coming from a weak space and just being real, coming from a place of the feminine, coming out of a feminine kingdom, all right? Now we have to develop ourselves into men who respond from our boundaries, who react from our boundaries, and not, or react from a place of our principles and our own rules, and not a place of our emotions and the laws of Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai. Is the first example that train you how to go against your nature and your emotions to obey Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai. For example, you might have some weird appetite to eat pork chop, but you know, because of the principles, the laws, I can't go off this appetite. You know, there might be a nice, attractive lady at work, and she's a cool person, but she's married. So you know, despite your nature, all right, you know, well, I can't engage in it. I can't entertain it. I have to keep it very professional, all right, because of the law. So the laws is the first thing to teach you not to go with your emotions, not to go with your mind, all right? And that's ultimately why a lot of jakes don't like the word. They don't really follow the word, because when you read the scriptures, you read, even Proverbs tell you not to go after your own mind. So that's the Eastern world is self-denial. The Western world is self-indulgence. All right? And now you have to go against your Western upbringing and actually deny your own devices to be obedient to Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai. But that's the first framework. The first framework is you denying yourself to follow Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai, denying your human nature, your male nature, your all those things, man. You have to go against, but it's a beautiful journey to understand. I have to go against my intuition. I have to go against my own devices to do the right thing. That's part of the journey to manhood. You know, self-restraint, self-control. You know, go against your culture to follow Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai. You know, I hope this is making sense. You see, and when it comes to a more personal level, you learn that you have your inner boundaries, your personal principles that you have to train yourself to go by. And you have to train yourself because it could be counterintuitive. You know, if somebody throws a punch at you, it's second nature to throw a sloppy flinch. You might flinch, and that flinch didn't really protect you. It was just kind of sloppy. But if you go through some type of training with martial arts, you'll train yourself to go off your natural flinch system, for lack of better words, and have a more polished way of defending yourself upon an attack. So same thing with interacting, you know, with people, women, whatever. You learn to go against your natural default program that probably Disney taught you, or just the feminine taught you, or whatever, and you learn to develop a more refined system that you orient yourself by, you know. But I hope this was edifying. Once again, I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh Bahashim Awashai, Bahashim Hakodash. Also want to give double honors to our elder apostles, elder bishops of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and blessings, health and wellness to the house of David the elect, Abba Baal, Kam Yashala, Shalom.